Hello, divine man, and hello, divine woman, and welcome to this safe space. I want to do this in one sitting, so I'm trying not to edit. And yes, first chapter in this series where I'm on camera, so bear with me. Um, so this thought has been coming up on and off again, and I am trying to understand it. Um, Putting all what you're supposed to do aside, I've been having this thought about, you know, shoulda, woulda, coulda, how I should have handled a situation, what I should have done, what I should have said, and, you know, also thinking about what I can do differently for next time. But I can't shake, like, it's been challenging. Watch my words. It's been very challenging to watch my thoughts, because like the same events, the same scenarios keep popping up, and then I just keep thinking, damn, if I had done this, this would have been different. If this had happened, something else, and I'm trying so hard not to go down that spiral, but I'm noticing when things start to get quiet, those are the thoughts that are popping up in my head, and I'm like, like this could have been totally different. What I'm doing right now could have been totally different, and I'm an advocate for listening to your personal thoughts, because that tells you a lot about what you need to heal from and what you need to, kind of process. But it's been very uncomfortable because the events that keep popping up in my head is for something that I really really wanted. And so with those thoughts coming up, it has me feeling like a failure, and that's not a fun feeling. And what I'm realizing is things happen for a reason, right? I think about myself personally in the middle of those events that keep coming up, and I know I did everything that I was supposed to do, right? I did the best that I can do at that moment while this thing was happening. Yes, I learned lessons because of the way things went down. But then there's that part of me that's like, damn, I wish I knew this lesson when such and such was happening. I wish I had a time machine to change what was happening. And it's the shoulda, woulda, couldas. And I don't regret anything, because first and foremost, like I said before, I did the best that I could do with the situation that was at hand. I followed my intuition. Um, and I can't lie, certain things I was overcome by with fear. And those are not things that I can go back and change. This is not a movie or a show where we can go back and change the reality. And so this is where the fantasizing Pisces in me versus reality versus what's actually happening versus imagination are triggering one another. And so you know, sometimes we just have to learn to be okay with things not going the way we want them to. It's not fun, but if we look at the bigger picture, there's a lot of lessons that were learned through whatever you were going through that has helped you to get to where you are, and is going to help you to get to where you're going. Because if I think about for example, the events, the situations that have been popping up, there was a lot of things going on that made me respond the way that I responded. And looking back, like thinking out loud right now, and what I've had to remind myself is I'm romanticizing, or I have been romanticizing the overall situation. But when I look at the details, I have to acknowledge that the way I responded to certain stigma and things that happened within the events, that was because things weren't all the way they needed to be. And so, yeah, let's say there was a time machine where my current self, my present self, or my future self was able to go back and talk to myself at those moments, right? First and foremost, that's removing the timeline of the lessons that I learned, right? But then that is also preventing me from, or limiting me to what I know. So although I'm still in that period of, okay, this has happened, it's time to process everything and then move on. If I was to say, if I was to have a time machine right now and I'm able to go back and change everything, I would be holding myself to what I know at the moment, right? And the reality, the future me, the experiences that future me is going to experience, I would be preventing myself from experiencing that. And you don't go through one experience, one bad experience, for that to be it. I have the I have trained myself to believe that where I am now is not where I'm going to be forever, right? I have trained myself to understand and process that just because I went through something bad, that doesn't mean that's it. I went through that experience because I needed to learn some things that I can apply in the future and eventually get to where I want to be, or to a reality that is most appeasing to me. And by limiting myself to shoulda, woulda, couldas with that past situation, I'm not allowing myself the full opportunity to grab hold of the blessings and the good experiences that will stem from those lessons learned. So, yeah, I at the end of the day, I am human, and I understand that. Damn, I do at times. I have to give myself that space, if you will, to say, I wish I I knew then what I knew now. But sooner or later, I will understand why I didn't. I will understand why things had to go the way that they did for me to move forward. I will understand why I had to be left alone in certain situations and certain seasons to become the person that I'm meant to be. That is also a message that has been coming up a lot, where it's like, for me to get to where I want to be, I do have to be alone. There are times where you have to be in hermit mode, because there's listening to yourself, and spiritually listening to your spiritual team and the messages that come there. But then there's also listening to people of this world. If we focus on, not saying, let me clarify, not saying that people don't have good ideas. People do have good ideas, but there's times where we have to dig within ourselves, and the reality that is within us, we need to pull that out to create something that the world may have never seen, or in a upgraded version. Right? Think of Facebook, Meta, think of Instagram, TikTok, think of big businesses like Walmart and Publix, all this, Chick-fil-A. Before those companies were created, more oftentimes than not, nothing like those companies existed. And so when those owners did what they did to do what they do, it created the life that we have now. And at times, that is what we're going through, right? We all have our seasons where, yes, there's times where we should be around other people, but there's also times where we need to be alone to birth, to create a reality that only comes from within us. Whereas when we allow ourselves to be surrounded by people, those people can distort that reality, and then it will not be all that it's meant to be. And so, yes, looking at those events, I, you know, there's a part of me, my inner child, there's like, I wish things were different. But the adult me, the one that's speaking to you, I understand that everything is certain, many things are supposed to happen to allow us to become the person we're meant to be. When we're born, we come into this world with a purpose, with a reality that only we can birth, right? This is the season of, having been refined in the fire, becoming the diamond, and then putting it out for the world to see. So there's times we have to go through that, but it's not always supposed to be experienced by other people. And so as we grow and transform, there are times where things will happen in a way that we may not want to experience it, but it's absolutely necessary for us to become the best person possible. And then eventually it's all going to make sense. Eventually it's all going to fall into place. And before you know it, you're going to look back and everything that you experienced, the things that didn't go the way you wanted them to, the way life turned out, it may not be what you wanted it to be or exactly how you thought it was going to look, but it's going to be way better than you could have ever imagined. So that has kind of helped ease my mind as far as understanding why I kept having the thought. I'm realizing, and this is stuff that I already know. It's just sometimes you got to say it out loud, right? So I personally got to make sure that I stay on top of my thoughts. Everything happens for a reason, right? Everything happens for a reason. And that sounds like it's going to be the affirmation that I tell myself until those thoughts do what they need to do. But I hope this helps, right? Because as we grow, not everybody's going to understand. So I hope this helps. If you like the content, if you learned something, if there's anything that has touched your soul, please feel free to like this video. Please feel free to subscribe, share with anybody you feel need to hear this message. And I will see you for the next chapter.